Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time. We appreciate your consideration and the time you're putting on this. Mayor Elorza, as well as Mr. Goldsmith and Mr. Partridge, I think, laid out pretty well what the goal is and what this bill is. I'll just respond to a few of the comments I heard and be happy to answer any questions that you have. I believe Senator Nesselbush, who's not here now, and some other folks have mentioned the idea of a statewide water authority, and that actually was the city's bill last year. Last year, the city presented a bill which would have created a statewide water authority, and which would have presumably led to regionalization. I think this bill, which is more of an enabling legislation type of bill, could organically lead to that, but it doesn't create some separate statewide water authority as last year's bill did. But certainly we're not, the city's not opposed to that, and assumes that some kind of organic regionalization which could lead to economies of scale would result. Secondly, as to rates, there seems to be, I think, a little bit of a misconception about what happens with rates. We heard last year when we were here at the hearings and speaking with interested parties, a lot of concern about rates. The bill before you addresses that head on with an absolute rate cap for 5 years. So for the first 5 years, the rate increase cannot be any higher than they were for the 5-year period beforehand. We've heard kind of a lot of enthusiasm for the PUC's regulation of our rates, and I'll note that the PUC didn't actually regulate them until 1980, but since then they have, and if folks are satisfied with the way in which they've regulated the rates, well, the 5 years subsequent to a transaction won't have any higher rate increases than what the PUC approved for the 5 years prior. Immediately after that 5-year rate cap period, the PUC will be regulating rates. So the rates there's more protection against rate increases than there currently is. As far as, some concerns that have been raised about regulatory authority. The only regulatory authority that the bill changes is the PUC's regulatory authority over the initial transaction itself and that initial 5-year rate period, which the bill caps. All other regulations governing water authorities remain in full force and effect. This doesn't eliminate other regulation of health and environmental regulations of whether it be Providence Water or any other water authority. Also, we've heard a number of concerns about selling the water authority or privatization. As the mayor mentioned, that's not what the city is moving towards. The city hasn't stated any thing about selling off water or land. This is essentially enabling legislation that would permit Providence Water as well as other water utilities to enter into transactions with each other. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Dana? Thank you. Obviously, Senator Archambault.
Just want to acknowledge two important Smithfield constituents for me, Colonel Coyne and my chairman, Larry Mancini, before we end the bill.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Obviously, we've been given a lot of information and there are a lot of concerns. I would just ask that anyone with concerns or with language concerns bring those to Whip Goodwin so that if they are going to continue to work on this bill, that all those concerns be brought to her. So with that, Senator Archambault moves to hold 2838 for further study, seconded by Senator Lombardi. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The bill's held.